Okay, so the update operation, it helps us to modify existing rows in the database. This is one thing that you need to differentiate. In DDL, if you want to change anything if you want to change the structure of your database, that is the tables, you want to change the columns, the data types, the constraints, for example, the primary keys, etc. You use the alter statement. The alter statement is used in data definition. The update statement is used in data manipulation. So the update statement is the one that we use to change the data in the database, the data. Okay, it is not changing the structure of the database. No, it changes the data that you have in your database. So the generic syntax here is you update the table. So you update student set, you tell us the column, okay, the column name, in other words, the column that you want to update. So you say column student, column first name, and then you tell us the values that you want to change to. For example, if you look at this, it's saying update student, set last name as Aliza, where, because we need to know, if you just say update student, set last name as equal to Aliza, it is going to update all the last name. Everyone is going to be called Aliza. So you need to specify which column you want the name Aliza to go to. That is why we're saying where the registration number is that. So once you run that statement, it will be affected on that registration number. Okay, so all rows in the table are modified if you omit. The moment you omit the where clause, it means that everything will be returned as Aliza. So updating rows with values that are tied to the integrity constraint is usually will return errors when the constraint is validated. So in most cases, if you're going to update the values and that particular column you're trying to update is, for example, a foreign key, that means you're going to have errors, because remember that values of the foreign key must match values of the primary key. Here you are trying to update a foreign key. So the most important thing to do if you have a value that you want to update in the foreign key, so you have to first update the primary key and then you can update the foreign key, because those two have got to match. The delete expression, the delete, they're saying that the delete will help you to remove the rows from the table. In the DDL, we use the drop statement to help you to remove a particular column from the table. You can also drop a table from the database, and you can drop a column from the database. But if you want to delete data from the table, you use a delete statement, and that is the general syntax for the delete statement. You delete from a table and you specify which particular column you want to delete from. Otherwise, if you say delete from student and you don't specify the column, everything will be deleted. So the deletion operation, you're saying the specific rows are deleted if you specify where with the where clause. So this syntax, you say delete from student where the registration number is that, so that particular student will be the one to be deleted. So take care, if the where clause is not specified, then all the rows of the table will be deleted. Okay, deleting rows or integrity constraint error again. You cannot delete a row that contains a primary key that is used as a foreign key in another table. You cannot. Okay, you cannot delete a row So in other words, if that row consists of, if that row is a primary key in one table, but it's being used as a foreign key in another, you cannot delete it. Again, because you'll be violating the referential integrity rule, where the values of the primary key must match the values of the foreign key. So the common integrity constraint errors, leaving out values of columns with not null constraints, okay, where you don't attach values for columns that are demarcated as not null. Deleting a parent record that has dependencies on it, okay? You cannot delete a record that has a foreign key somewhere. Inserting or updating a record with a foreign key still. You cannot insert a value of the foreign key when it has a primary key somewhere, okay? So those are some of the common mistakes that people usually commit during manipulation of data. What we are going to do is we are going to try and do some bit of practical for this particular session itself. So again, like I described in video 3, I said to open my SQL, what you need is one, you've got to go here, okay, go to WAMP. If it is showing red, it means that your services are not on. So you have to start all the services and then they'll turn green. But already me, I have my services are green, so that means my server is on. So you go to my SQL and then you click on my SQL console. Root, it displays the root folder. You just click OK. And then here we are with our console, okay? There we are. So you just enter, you don't need a password, you just enter. So now remember that in video 3, I had created a table called student. So we need to see whether our database is still there that we had created, our database called dim. So we're going to say show databases, okay? Yes, so our database is still there that we created, the database dim. It is still there. So we need to see the columns that are there. The columns that are there, we need to see them. Okay, so we need to, these are the databases we have, but we need to specify which database we are using. So we are going to use dim. I think it was called dim. So that is the database that we are going to use. Now, after now selecting the database, we need to see, we've got to show the tables that are in our database and the different columns that are in the database. So now we've got to after selecting our database dim, and we need to know the columns, the table that is in the database. In this case, we had created a table called student. Okay, so we need to describe student. Okay, so these are the different columns that we created, yesterday, or in video 3. So now if you go back in your handout, I said that you should create the video that I said, this video that I have just created. We said that we should create the table called student, but it should have 6 columns. So we have registration number, first name, last name, date of birth. We have course code. So now we need to create the program code. Now this table, we already created it. So that means for us to be able to add a column, we have to use the alter table statement for us to be able to add a column to it. So we are going to alter table student, and then you say add prog code, which is a voucher. It's a voucher 20. Okay, voucher 20, and then you terminate the statement. So for us to be sure that that particular column has been added, still we are going to describe student. So that table prog code has been created. So after that, after creating that, I want us to change. Initially, I had changed the date of birth to year because I was doing some kind of demonstration, but I think we need to change it back to date such that we capture the date together with the year. So also that we are going to do an alter table, okay? Alter table such that we can change the data type, okay? So we are going to alter table student, okay? And then we're going to modify column, DOB to date, and then you enter. And then after entering, let's describe and see whether that has changed. Yeah, so now the date of birth has been changed to date. So again, if you go back to the table, so we have finished creating the table called student. So we need to create a table called program, okay? We've got to create a table called program. So this particular 15 minutes of this video are done. So I'm going to record another one where we're going to create these different other tables and try to do a few manipulations.